All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Talking Circle. So today's Talking Circle is freedom. And the reason I called this little platform a talking circle is it's a method of group communication that's used by Native Americans or First Nation tribes to just kind of settle disputes, educate, and tell stories. And it's through the telling of stories that we're able to understand where other people are coming from, and that we're able to just find solutions to complex problems. So I have a lot of guests here today. We have a full house. We got more people that'll be coming. I think we started a little bit early. And like I said, it's kind of a generic topic. We're just going to just basically talk about freedom and everything that it encompasses, because whatever you consider freedom may not be what I consider freedom. So we're really excited today. And I'm going to let everybody kind of go around the table and talk about yourself. Kind of got you in order. So Peter, you go ahead and go first, and then we'll go on to you, Helen, and we'll go from there.
Okay, awesome. Well, I want to say hello to everyone. I want to thank Adela for offering this opportunity for us to sit down and have a discussion like this. And in doing so, when she asked me, hey, bring, we can have 10 people, what I thought in my mind was, hey, I've got people from the East Coast to the West Coast, in the middle of the country, all that are experiencing this, the woes of the country as it stands right now. And when everybody has different circumstance and happenstance, one of the main reasons why I invited Adam Kokesh to come on, because of his localization platform, and maybe giving people an understanding of how to get some control back on the government, where we can call ourselves we the people. But when it comes to freedom, my feeling about it all is yes, it has to be diverse. It has to be widespread like this, because freedom is something personal. It's not something a government can give you. It's not something an entity of any kind can present to you and say, here you go, now you have a freedom. It's something you capture, you embrace, you encapsulate yourself, and becomes a part of you. And living that way, I believe, is just a God-given right. I just believe as long as we're respectful and we live within a certain guidelines, and I believe in a non-aggressive principle. I don't believe that we have to fight, argue. I don't believe we should be at war, whether that war being a war on drugs and people, or that war being a war fighting senselessly for oil and for people in suits. So that's just kind of my idea of freedom, and why I thought this panel of people, some experiencing the same kind of ththings you are in the criminal justice system, such as Nickolas Wildstar, when he speaks today, you'll hear about, and Joey will handle all the cannabis side, and of course, my beautiful wife, who has her hands in everything that I pretty much got my hands into. But that's what we do. Please join my program, though. I mean, I think everybody on here has a podcast. And join my program Wednesday night.
Does anybody not have a podcast these days? I don't think you're like allowed to get a driver's license if you don't have a podcast anymore, isn't that something like that? I mean, I don't know. I don't have a driver's license anyway.
You have to have one before the license.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Adam, you don't have a license, so.
Well,
I didn't say I don't drive. I just said I don't have a driver's license.
I feel your pain.
Adam, you're next. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are?
Yeah, I'm that guy who got arrested for dancing in DC. And I'm a homesteader. I'm building a cabin in the mountains in northern Arizona. That's where I'm at right now. You see the background here. It's insulation and framing, and I got my friend Pat here helping me out today, and we're building an awesome off-grid cabin. When Peter was here just a couple days ago, we got our solar system installed and live and connected to home conventional electric. So that was like, yes, one more, like I can learn from YouTube. Actually, rather than YouTube now, I prefer to just like stumble through Google Images when I can't figure something out with construction, but whatever. Same shit. It's the hive mind. We are all plugged in. This is an awesome party. I mean, you got like a great group of people right here, Del.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Nickolas, am I saying your name correctly?
Yes, you are. Hello, how are you?
You're the next guest. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Absolutely. My name is Nickolas Wildstar, aka the Governor. I call myself Governor Wildstar because I govern my damn self, not the government, the de facto government at all. But I am a decade-long liberty activist. I was involved in the Occupy protests out here in California, anonymous protests, Black Lives Matter protests, Reopen California protests, anti-vaccination protests, anti-GMO protests, all that good stuff. So I'm a very involved community activist. I've also been involved recently in the effort to recall Gavin Newsom and as a candidate to replace him. I was the 2018 Libertarian candidate for governor. I was endorsed by the party and nominated and am running in 2022 as a gubernatorial candidate, if not sooner, once we have this special election declared to recall Gavin Newsom here. So that's the role that I play in all of this.
I forgot. I have a plan to make Nick's life a lot easier because I'm also, by the way, I govern myself, but I call myself king because I fucking rule. And I own this land here in Gardenia. This is the Garden of Freedom. We call it Gardenia. And Nick, you're never going to have to go to any of those protests ever again because we're just going to have an annual protest against all bad things. You get it all out of the way once and just have all your signs, you get all the speeches. Right. You don't have to do multiple events. We will know you are against all bad things. And everybody like me and you who are against bad things can come together and just have our voices heard as one.
I like that. We need that. That's what Occupy was, but it's no longer that. You know, it just fell apart. But we can resurrect it under a new banner.
All right, Roger, you're next.
Can't hear
we
you.
don't
Roger.
hear you.
Hey, how about that? Hear me now? Beautiful. Beautiful. I am Roger Sanchez. I founded Black Market Baked Goods, and I'm the host of a show called Echo Chamber, where I try to get people on to debate who've been deplatformed in one way, shape, or another. And I'm also the co-founder with another guy who may be joining us named Harrison Kemp of a group called Free Speech Media Network, where I just try to give – there's a lot of podcasts on my Facebook and other social media that I really like. And I thought, hey, well, let's try to all band together so we can share audiences so I can maybe try to, pool attention for all these other shows I think are really, really good. And so it's been kicking off and we've got people all over the place. So those three things, Free Speech Media Network, definitely go give them a shout out and check out all their shows. My show, Echo Chamber. And if you're hungry, I make really good cookies for Black Market Baked Goods. So you go.
Damn.
There you go. Joey, I got you coming on next.
What's going on, guys? I am Joey Lee, the Commander-in-Chief GI Mary Jane. I founded Platoon 420, the only media site that I know of reporting the drug war news from the perspective of the victims, former director of outreach for Maryland's chapter of Normal, and just one pissed off mom to see all these kids and my friends and my family and my neighbors being arrested and having guns put in their faces over this. So that's who I am.
Well, thank you. Mercedes, you're next.
Hello, it is I, Mercedes Damertowski. I'm out of Nebraska, like in the dead center of Nebraska on the interstate. Thank you very much. This is my lovely co-host, Cora. She's my 2.5-year-old daughter. She's a Gingy. She's super attention-y right now because Daddy's not home yet from work. So I'm the secretary of the Tri-Cities LP&E here. So I'm active as a libertarian. I protest. I smoke the devil's lettuce. I yell at the governor on social media and get put on watch lists. You know what a good libertarian does. But my main freedoms are I'm a sex worker. I came out of retirement recently. That's my main Nebraska one. And then I'm still doing the drug war legalization BS because of all that political nonsense. And then I'm mouthy, so I'm just all over the interwebs on these kind of TikTok circles and stuff. And it's good to be here today. I'm going to be on mute most of the time, though, unless I need to interject because my toddler's loud. So I don't know. Was I supposed to add anything else? I'm a chicken lady.
You're good.
There you go. That's it. That's all I got.
All right. Finally, our newest guy that just came in. That's not you. Harrison Kemp. Can you hear us?
I can. Hello.
All right.
My name is
Welcome
Harrison
to the
Kemp.
show.
Yeah, happy to be
Harrison.
here. Thanks for the invite.
So who are you, Harrison?
Yeah, so I'm Harrison Kemp. I'm the vice chair for the Libertarian Party of Maine. I'm a legislative author, actually the legislative director for the Free Maine PAC. I'm an author. You can pick up all my books at harrisonkemp.com. Check out all my blogs, podcasts, and whatnot. I also have 2 shows I do on Free Speech Media with Roger here. So had the luxury of talking to Mr. Kokesh before, and Mr. Yeeple. But other than that, I've never had the pleasure of talking to you guys. So very excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm just really amazed at the group of people we have and how many people on this particular platform have took serious action and political change, who understand that the only way we're really going to change any of these laws is by action and running for office. Has anybody experienced, if they ran for office, being raided? Because I've kind of talked to like a dozen people that this seems to be something. I'm just kind of curious because there's a lot of people that have ran that are activists. Yes, Adam. Like once you announce that you're raided?
No, so I got raided before I ran for office, though. That was part of my motivation, like having been raided. But that was for my shotgun civil disobedience, and I've had vehicle raids. I think it's appropriate, like especially taking the platoon 420 victims perspective kind of language framing. It's you're having a vehicle raided, having your vehicle invaded. I've gotten that, and I've done a few months time for everything, but had a shot, my door beaten down and a flashbang grenade thrown at my dog right in front of me. That'll motivate you. Lit a fire under his ass. Not literally. It just went off. It didn't actually but it did scare him. It scared, and it saved his life because you know what happens in those kinds of raids. Who gets shot right away? It's the dogs. But the flashbang grenade scared him back to his crate, and that kept him. That changed his mind from wanting to confront the invaders.
Right. I haven't been raided before, but I have been stalked by the FBI. In 2014, when I first ran for governor as an independent, I was involved in the Occupy protests and was also an anonymous protester and was pulled over for driving while black in Laguna Beach. Have a video of this on my YouTube channel. Yes, it does happen. Black people get profiled in neighborhoods where they are believed not to be in. And this was
if you were wearing a Guy Fawkes mask, how did they even know you were black?
Well, you would think that would be the case.
You didn't have your mask on. Come on.
Well, after they had pulled me over, they ransacked my car. My wife was with me. They actually pulled us out of the car and yanked us out and arrested us both, dragged us off to jail. Like I said, went through everything in my car and found some paperwork that I had on speeches and pictures and all of this other, I guess, damning material. But since I chose to represent myself in court, I was now deemed a sovereign citizen, which is a bad word in America. Don't consider yourself to be a sovereign person ever in a sovereign nation. But anyway, so I get a phone call from the FBI saying, asking me questions about my position on being a sovereign. And they even came out to one of my court cases to intimidate me in person by asking me questions, face to face. So I'm pretty sure they're probably watching this conversation now and have been tapping all of my conversations since then, since I've been, again, actively running to represent the people.
With this panel, if the bots aren't watching, we're doing something wrong.
Yeah, hi Steve.
Well,
I love you.
I normally say it's speeches and events. Hey, if you're an undercover agent, raise your hand. But let's just say today, leave a comment. Let us know you're listening. Let us know you're watching.
Oh God, don't antagonize the Steves, Adam. They've been nice to me. Thanks. I met him at a protest this last summer, and got a random message going, "Don't tell FBI agents this stuff." I'm like, what the fuck? Agents don't talk to you on Facebook. What the hell is going on? And then somebody in town let it slip that I'm on a watch list. I'm like, Oh, that makes perfect sense now. He was a really nice guy, though. Horrible excuse of why he was in town for a local that's from here, though. So, got to work on that, Steve. Thanks.
Well, what's the point of having a watch list if you can't use it to intimidate people?
Right.
Well, in here in Nebraska,
I guarantee you that this. No, go ahead.
In Nebraska, they don't have to tell you if you're on a watch list. The Freedom of Information Act isn't like they don't have to here. They don't have to tell you anything. I only know because people have big mouths.
I'm going to have the pleasure of shaking the hands of Park Police for the annual smoking at the White House. So I've got to admit, I've got a bit of anxiety about that. Like, they're going to be all nice. They're going to do the good cop thing, and who knows what's going to happen after that. I can't say that I'm a fan, but all in the is it really civil disobedience if you're getting the civil disobedience permit, though?
Yeah, well, you're paying
Planned civil disobedience.
If it weren't for the tradition, this will be the 51st year of this permit running, I'd be like, fuck it, this is the most unlibertarian thing I think I've ever done in my life. But I think it's symbolic. I don't know. I still feel a certain way about it. Like I'm working for the man.
Was it Nixon's Secretary of State or something, Anslinger, I think, who said you can protest all you want as long as you keep paying your taxes?
I think that was probably sounds Anslingerish for sure.
I can guarantee you that this is being watched because I am facing 11 years for allegedly having 22 2-foot tall non-flowering cannabis plants within my 8 acres. And I did file a motion for my discovery, and I do know that they're on CDs, and it's all my social media posts. It's all the videos that people put on my page, and that's all it is. So, yeah, you will be on my case, unfortunately. So,
Hi.
I just wanted to say a little bit about freedom. The state of Missouri has what they call a wait list that they created because the state legislator has underfunded the public defender's office, despite the fact that I was rated for being a big drug dealer, for trafficking and sales and possession. I was put on, I qualified for a public defender and was put on a wait list. And it's been 10 months and I still don't have a public defender. And I put the Supreme Court of Missouri, ruled that the wait list is unconstitutional. And I went ahead and filed a motion to dismiss, and the judge declined, despite the fact that it's unconstitutional. So I've been on a wait list for 10 months. And so I just kind of want to let that lead into a conversation about, I'm a pro se litigant at this point. The judge refuses to hear any motions I file. The judge refuses to give me a written reason with points why I've been denied. She refuses to allow to let me appeal anything. So I'm kind of stuck in a stagnant situation. They said that she wouldn't dismiss it with prejudice because there was no evidence at the point. And so I just found out that whatever they seized from my house hasn't even been tested. Right. So almost a year later, I still have.
Right.
I'll just say one of the huge under-accounted costs of the legal system in America, pretending to be a justice system, is that they don't care if your life is on hold for their bullshit. And to have charges hanging over your head for years, to not know what the outcome of a case is going to be, to have to deal with bail or bond status legally, to be on paper that way, that it is this whole other layer of stress and reduction of quality of life and productive output that it really is almost impossible to account for all of how destructive just that kind of inconsiderateness of the system kind of bullshit is.
Right. Well, the truth of the matter is right now we have a law system that does not care about upholding the law or protecting our rights. All it cares about is making sure that we stay obedient. And
That's right.
And it's sad because as taxpayers, as citizens, we pay our taxes and we assume that the system works. And especially those that are pro-authoritarian, because they see it as being the system that is keeping us from, to be the civil society that we are. Instead of looking at who we are as human nature, we're naturally peaceful human beings. We don't go around harming each other or, being verbally abusive towards each other. We're just naturally polite and, courteous and, of course, social. But right now we have a government telling us that we can't even interact with each other, and people think that's okay. It's like, excuse me, no, nothing in the Constitution says that the government has the authority to tell us that we need to stay away from each other and that we must wear a mask and that we must stay indoors. Nothing gives them that authority. Nothing does except for our compliance. And the way that they make sure that we obey them is through the threat of violence, the people with guns that they hire to make sure that they enforce their beliefs upon us. But we got to resist at this point, or else we're going to continue to live under tyranny.
Yeah, I think
That's
it's
right,
it's
Nick.
it's the
Absolutely.
years of tyranny that have got us here. Like we all kind of have Stockholm syndrome in a way. I've been sharing this video of the kid that got gunned down in Delaware while he was sleeping in his car by police, and they literally used a baton to pop this kid's lock open and then open his door while he was sleeping, talked about weed, and he drove off. Which the argument is he's running. Like, no, he's peacefully leaving the scene. He's not being detained. But it blows my mind how many people are really, even in the activist community, are on the side of the cops on this one because they're of the opinion that he ran. He didn't run. He wasn't detained. People don't know their rights. And, I want to say it's not an excuse, but it is. Our public school system doesn't teach it. There's nowhere to go look it up online and get like a class of what you can and can't do. It's virtually, one of the hardest things to learn in this country.
Yeah,
Joey, that's for your own good, because if you exercise your rights, that's how you get shot in this country.
And that's just
That's
it.
right.
Leaving a cop walking away while you're not being detained should not be a death sentence. Just because you're disrespecting authority doesn't mean that you should literally be killed.
Unless it's in Kentucky, where it's now a crime or about to be a crime to insult a cop or taunt a cop.
Yes, you can't even insult.
I'm definitely I'm in danger.
I do want
I
It
kind
shouldn't
of
be a
that
death
makes me
sentence.
want to go to Kentucky just to do a protest where we all hold signs that says "fuck you, we love you" or something like that. Just everybody is breaking the law and obviously loving peaceful civil disobedience.
That's what our protest's for.
One of the first things
Joey,
I got
I want to. Well, hold
Oh,
on,
I
Joey, really quick before we move on to that next topic. You mentioned that gentleman that was just murdered, but about a week before that, this was not two Sundays ago. Marvin Scott III was pulled up, or he was arrested, and when they for marijuana, they thought they smelled pot, so they searched and they found less than 2 ounces. He was detained. He was arrested. They thought he was acting erratically, so they took him to the hospital. 3 hours later, they put him in jail. They still didn't like the way he was acting, so they tied him to the bed. They maced him, and they put a spit gag over his head. And 3 hours later, they found him unresponsive, and he is dead.
Wow.
So
yeah, I heard.
Even if
I
you
heard
don't,
that
even if you do
story.
know your rights, this is.
Yeah. They'll still get you. You're right. I heard that story. I didn't hear the details yet. Actually, when I heard of it, it was just breaking. The coroner didn't come out with anything. That sounds absolutely brutal, and that's I don't care what you've done. That kind of treatment is cruel and unusual, and that's supposed to be something that we're protected against. And you're absolutely not. I mean, even down to the small factor of certain medications not being allowed in prisons, right? You got people withdrawing without proper medical attention, and that is detrimental and life-threatening. And that one little thing right there in a list of thousands, and there's no outcry for it. It's incredible to me.
Well, the biggest threat that they pose is that even if you get arrested for a non-violent, victimless crime, you can be abused, you can be killed, as with the example that you just made with this gentleman here. And it's sad that you even have, like Mary Jane pointed out, libertarians that are advocating for police force, saying, hey, well, this is the law, you broke the law, and if you break the law, then pretty much you get what's coming to you. I just had a situation myself where a Libertarian Party member, a local Libertarian Party member, actually wrote a letter to a judge to basically demand that I be sentenced for a nonviolent, victimless crime. Now, you would think any libertarian would think that, that would object to that by all means, but this libertarian in particular felt like, hey, I broke the rules and I need to be disciplined for that. And as a Black man, I see that as being an attempt to lynch me. As you just pointed out, this guy, he was arrested, he was chained to a bed, all because they felt like he wasn't behaving the way that they wanted him to. And that's what I was actually charged for, disorderly conduct, or basically contempt of court. But one of the first things I ever was arrested for as a teenager was disorderly conduct. And I always wonder, what the hell did that mean, And I thought that just applied because I was a teenager, and here I am, an adult, I'm a married man. I'm a father. I have a child. I'm a tax-paying, hardworking, contributing member of the community, and I'm being told that I'm not behaving the way that that the state deems acceptable, and they'll use any means of force to make sure that we behave accordingly. And it's sad that we can be killed because of it, and society will pat them on the back for it.
And those people in society, in my humble opinion, that are not screaming up and down at the wrongs that are being done are the ones that have no more critical thinking. It's like, how do you not see it as completely illogical and wrong on every moral level that there is? Because anybody with a logical, critical thinking mind is going to see it that way. So why are there so many of our society that are like that? That's a big question. And there's a big answer, and it's been going on for a long time. And this is what we're all tending with now.
Well, that's kind of what I want people to understand about the panel of people that are here. It's just we've been sticking to the same view and the same banging our head against the wall, making the same mistakes over and over and over with a two-party system that has really accomplished nothing. I've been alive 56 years, and I really could. I don't
love you.
Praises. There are very so few and far between. So if people understood more that there were more choices out there, and that if we adapted different thinking when it came to how we govern, again, localization, bringing things more to community and making communities make the decisions for themselves. If we have this happening, then we are going to have a happy society where things, because why? Because you could go live where people think like you think. Or you can adapt that within your own community, because those masses will be so much smaller.
But we have minds, Peter, we have minds that are so convoluted with poisons that we have to make our society healthy for those changes to even begin. Because people just don't have it here to do that. And that's what I see.
I want to go back, if I may, to what something Nick said.
In my opinion.
Nick, you said there was someone who I think you said they were a libertarian. But I think there are a lot of people. Well, you said he is, right? Well, I think there are a lot of people who self-identify as libertarians who really should be referred to as self-identified libertarians rather than libertarians. Just because I self-identify as an Apache attack helicopter doesn't turn my dick into rotor blades. There's a certain reality here, and if you can't just play with words and definitions, I'm all for the right to self-identify. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to play that game. But for the people who, I think we should take it as a good sign that there are people sort of infiltrating the libertarian movement who clearly are not, and are like, Donald freaking Trump, like, who grew the federal government. I mean, I could like take up the whole rest of the show, just listing all the anti-libertarian things Donald Trump has done as the Orange Julius Caesar, Cheeto Jesus, Cadet Bone Spurs. I mean, you could go on and on and on. But he identified, I'm kind of libertarian. Remember in the interview trying to like use Rand Paul as a way to kiss ass to sound cool to people who care about freedom? Like it's insane, but that's a good sign of like the undeniable growth and relevance. We shouldn't be complaining about it. We should be encouraging it, but have the language to say, you're doing something that you're really a self-identified libertarian. I'm sure Harrison, as a party organizer, has some significant experience with this, and we're getting to the point, even in Maine, where there are going to be people who you're like, no, you don't. Nah, you can identify as a libertarian, but that's about as far as it goes.
Well, then that's the thing is you have a lot of virtue signaling in the libertarian party as well, and it's unfortunate because that makes you no different than the people on the left and the right. Either you're going to stand on principle, stand by it, or not at all. And with this person in particular, Chuck Ham, fuck Chuck Ham, either you object to all crimes or remain silent, as a libertarian. If you're
Silence is compliance.
Exactly. Compliance is compliance. One thing that I guess, one thing about me that probably rubs libertarians the wrong way is I'm unapologetically libertarian. Like, I'm like Adam. I drive my car, damn it. I don't have a driver's license,
Wait, how many of us actually have licenses?
It's
the better question.
Am I the only one?
I'm not going to tell you if I'm in possession of a weapon or not because it's none of your damn business. And if I am, is it licensed or is it not? That's none of your damn business either. And I'm a man that stands on those principles. So when it comes to the system, I'm not just going to obey it blindly. I'm going to be that thorn in its side. And a lot of people they see that as being outside of their comfort zone. And that's okay if that's you. But if I'm stepping up to the plate to make sure that I'm challenging the system, that I'm agitating it, that I'm actually speaking up as one of we the people to say, I'm going to defend our rights and liberties for us as a whole, then you should be standing with me behind that. Even if you don't agree in the tactics, if you're about the principle of the matter, then you should be all for it. But it's sad again that you got people in the Libertarian Party that still feel like you need to obey authority, even when it's acting unlawfully.
Nick, you said you rub libertarians the wrong way. If I may speak on behalf of all libertarians, because we love being collectivized like that, I don't think you can rub us the wrong way because we all love getting rubbed. No, I'm making fun of your language, but there is a point there to say, let's use these terms carefully because we're talking about people who are individuals and trying to even right. We collectivize ourselves. We try and that's what I'm joking to say. If I may speak for all libertarians, no, I may fucking not. Well,
the difference is this Chuck Ham person. He's an officer for the Libertarian Party here in California, so that makes you now, quote unquote, a spokesman for the party.
Our national chair sat in California with me last year and told me how he doesn't support legal rec on a federal level, only medical. We actually had that
discussion.
Henchman? I'm not a member of the National Party.
Was that Swordwork or Henchman? Who said that?
Henchman.
Personal opinions are personal opinions, and we have to remember he's a tax attorney, so
maybe he's changed that view, but lost it there for me. Hard pass.
Okay, hold on.
Well, no, but this is a lot of people take this as the excuse to let us be divided or to be scared off of an organization, and it's absolutely bullshit. We don't boycott every major corporation that does some shady thing. Most of us are sort of on the conscious consumer side, but not like ascetic monks living in a cave on a mountain. And then we want to boycott the Libertarian Party because they have one thing. It's like, You got to be, and then you go buy gas at the gas station and shop at a corporate grocery store and buy Twinkies and Coca-Cola and watch cable TV and pay for cell phone service with corporate giants. No, you're going to boycott and then you're going to let someone dissuade you from being active with the Libertarian Party because one guy, one political position. Nah, bullshit. There's a culture of artificial division within politics and activism that's not organic, that is implanted by people who want us to be less effective. We need to consciously overcome that and say, like, no, you're pulling the same direction. Let's pull together.
Hey, you got
This wisdom.
You can see that people. You can really see that people are struggling because I get a lot. This is the first state I've ever been in where I'm not a felon. I've never been arrested. I'm like got no record. But I've been an activist, especially for judicial reform, for a better part of 20 years. I found over 80 people serving life sentences without the possibility of parole. I've had a medical marijuana license for over 20 years. But in the midst of a pandemic, telemedicine, which I've had people get federally raided by Kamala Harris and lose their medical license, all of that is now legal and lawful. And so I have a lot of haters that are really mad at me because I didn't go through the rules and the regulations appropriately. And so they're angry. And what I've noticed is it's just really, truly a lack of education and a lack of foresight, and a lack of history, because they're not realizing that you could be a card-carrying medical marijuana holder from your doctor, from your state. You could be lying with all the state laws, but at any given time, if the federal government wants to come in, you have absolutely no recourse when it comes to cannabis. And so no matter how much we all say, oh, I'm lawful and I'm abiding by the laws, we are all federally disobedient. If the feds walked in on any of you, knocked through your doors right now, a lot of us would be in trouble. And so we're allowing this rhetoric and propaganda to who we stand for and who we support because we're blindsided. We're only seeing a part of the sliver. And so there's a lot of work to do. And this is just one issue of freedom. There's so many other ones that I just don't know how to, you'll break people's thinking, and it's through time and through education, but it's actually very frustrating. I just wanted to touch base on that's kind of what you were just talking about, Nick, about you may not fit to the mold, or why aren't people standing and supporting if you're fighting and breaking unjust laws or whatever it may be, or bad laws. It just seems like we need more unity, despite whatever party you're on or whatever belief you believe in. If you think that cannabis is something that can save people, or you believe in, shouldn't you support it 100% wholeheartedly?
Exactly. But that's really just collective organizing. And unfortunately, the Libertarian Party organization does not reflect that. If it did, it would have more of a presence in the community. It would be more active. It would be that go-to, but it isn't. Even locally here, I attempted to be the chair for a local party and get people to come out and sign a petition for the recall, go out and feed the homeless, go out and clean up the litter in the neighborhood. And it was hard to get people involved in the party, in the community, because a lot of people didn't know what the Libertarian Party was. So first things first is I had to go out there and do this whole introduction thing and, excite them about getting involved in these community type of events. But then once they were convinced, then now they were invested into it. And we can do that. We don't need a centralized organization to make that happen. We as individuals need to start coming together just as leaders in our own right to make that happen. And again, it's sad that the Libertarian Party isn't stepping up to be that vehicle, because it has all of the working parts to make that happen.
Sure.
Yeah, I want to add to that. I want to add to that too. Like I used to do this. I used to chase people. I used to, if I had an idea and I thought it was really cool and I wanted people to support it, I would pitch to someone, maybe my local LP affiliate. And if it didn't go maybe the way that I thought, I would hound and really try to chase just if there's something cool that you want to do and that you believe in, just go do it. Just go do it. And you don't necessarily need the LP behind you. And if it's a good idea and it works, then the right people are going to get attracted to that. So that's something I had to stop doing. Like, I don't chase people anymore. Like, if I believe in something, I'm just going to do it. And then maybe life will teach me the lessons if it was a bad thing to do. But if it's a good thing to do, then other people will respond to that. So, if you're watching this and you have an idea of something you want to do, like you want to go do one of these cool like park cleanups that I see all the time, but maybe your LP county affiliate isn't responsive, whatever, just go do it. And then they'll come around. You know what I mean? So I think that's a good way to go about things.
Yeah, I am. I'm a big, like myself here locally as a libertarian, being the secretary, being involved before I was secretary, I was the vice chair because I showed up to a meeting and met the chair. And he's like, well, you're more qualified than I am. I'm like, holy fuck, it's that easy? Jesus. You show up, you get voluntold. But the first thing I heard in my party was good ideas don't require force. Here in Nebraska, our LP is very right-leaning. They're very, like, Roads to Liberty is here. Mises Caucus has a stronghold. Like, it's very just conservative-leaning economically. And there's not a lot of social liberalism. I make people clutch pearls quite often. I'm actually part of the pearl clutching caucus. Because,
Mercedes, if I may just quick jump in comment, because in defense of the people you just mentioned there, because I know David Demarest behind Roads to Freedom, and I know the people at the heart of the Mises, while they have conservative overlap concerns, messaging, emphasis on economics, they are all voluntarists in that sense.
Yeah, and that's exactly
right down the middle. We got to give them credit for that.
And that's what I was going to get to is I'm super socially liberal. I am exactly the type of person that they've been trying to target for the last few years, trying to draw into the party. They didn't know how to connect with people like me just because my mindset is so it's different, but I'm a voluntarist. I believe in that, and because of that bridge of volunteerism, I was able to come into the party, learn about libertarianism from them, realize that their libertarianism isn't my flavor of libertarianism, not get support, but then go on and do what I wanted to do on my own, because change starts with you. If you need to see change, then you go do the change. And if it's a good idea, other people will take notice and come help you or be involved or like be the seed of change. I'm just so catchphrasy. I'm sorry. It's years of leadership bullshit.
I'm going to tell you for a second time today, you're my hero.
Oh, don't tell me that. I don't like it. I only like to feel for evil. Okay. Like Adam likes to say, he's genetically designed to hate himself. Bitch, same. So because of that, though, I got to go and do that and show people that good ideas don't require force and that I don't need support from celebritarians or other people that don't believe in me, because they do believe in me. They're helping me be free by standing up for my rights, even though they don't agree with them. Absolutely at all. They call me a Democrat. It's painful.
Yeah, let me hop in here for a second. So I've been quiet for a while, but Adela, you were talking about your case and how it's unconstitutional. Well, there's a lot of constitutional amendments that are at play here. And then you've got your own state constitution and state laws that are at play. You know, we've got just on the face of it, the 18th Amendment outlawed alcohol, and then the 21st Amendment repealed that. So the federal government's already came to the conclusion they can't outlaw intoxicants that are manufactured. Well, if they can't outlaw alcohol, how can they outlaw heroin, meth, marijuana, any of these other things? And then furthermore, how can they outlaw a naturally occurring intoxicant? So none of this stuff is legal. And then you've got the Sixth Amendment right to a speedy trial. That's really one of the big ones at play here. You've been on waiting list for 10 months. You know, it's supposed to be a couple of months, and then you're able to start having your case go through. So you've got a lot at play here. And if anyone out there is in a similar position, go find yourself who's not a wimp and make them start banging down some doors, because cases like this do get dismissed all the time. And if they
Sounds like
don't,
you're in a constitutional crisis.
yeah.
I made a
And then
really
if it doesn't get turned down, you need to pitch for the jury nullification. Just have the jury say, no, we don't think this is a crime. Because at the end of the day, if we have a real libertarian society. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
They've also in this state declared it as a noxious weed. and that's prohibited from being sold. But that also gives them a civil, non-punitive approach from the county commissioner to give me a 15-day letter to destroy the cannabis plants on my property. So I agree that they had other remedies and they had other avenues, but I didn't even mention the fact that they flew a drone over my property, and I didn't know that it was law enforcement. But I'm on 8 acres, and so I'm nude on my property quite often. They recorded me naked, and then in this 2019 raid, so I've been raided twice. And then in the 2020 raid, when I filed for my discovery, they gave me and my husband, even though he is my co-defendant, the naked video. And there's no evidentiary value. There's just me naked, and they zoomed up so close that you can see everything. So they committed a felony themselves by recording me nude, downloading it, an enhancement to a felony of distributing it. And I brought all of this to the attention of the judge. She just doesn't seem to care. Ironically, she said to me,
she's a pot hater, that's why.
One more time.
Are you in California?
She's a pot hater, obviously. That's why.
See,
I mean, I see,
Mercedes, I see your blood boiling, man. Like,
It's more like
that's the worst part about what's happening to you, Adela, is because you're in California, and a lot of people are under the impression that
Missouri.
Court. Oh, okay, Missouri.
Missouri's not real. Missouri is a terrible fucking state. I'm sorry. Sorry.
But it works the same way. You have all of these pro-marijuana laws, supposedly, that you think are protecting you, and they're really not. You know, you still have law officials that are abusing the law system because they feel like, hey, we want to make an example out of you to make sure that nobody else does what you do. You know, it's okay for the commercial companies to come in
this morning.
You know, have a big ass factory, you know, with thousands of plants in them. But if you were to do so on your own property, and you know, now you're a criminal and you're treated like this, you know, thug and threat to society, when really you're just, you know, a person just living your life, you know. And it's sad that, again, you have nobody to call on within the law system to actually defend you. The federal government is out to, again, abuse the law system against you, and so are local authorities. So who do you turn to?
Hmm? Nobody. I
agree.
don't have problems with cannabis until
I have an answer, but it's illegal.
I'm also a federally recognized Native American from Telequa Nation. I'm a Cherokee. So I have a bald eagle in my freezer. I have eagle feathers right here, which I obtained lawfully, legally. And so I have a different set of standards, of rules and laws. This is a felony for everybody else unless they have their card through the federal government, which peyote has already been used as a religious sacrament, and that's also a Schedule 1. So I do plan on going full forward. I'm not going to take a plea. I'm going to fight it all the way to jury trial, and if I lose, I'm going to appeal it.
Yes.
And so I'm just really going to fight for it. But it's hard because I don't want to be a martyr and I don't want to go to prison, but it's very difficult at the same time.
But you want to stand up for your rights too. I mean, should you even have to consider yourself a martyr just for standing up for your rights? Like,
but you do. Yeah, that's how you end up being, you know, especially when you are facing the threat of possible death at you know, at any turn.
What do you think this is, a free country?
It was free once, and then the white man came and wiped out the buffalo. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. God, I'm mad. Oh, well,
So hold on. Harrison said something about meth earlier, and I made a really bad joke on my show the other day about, like, well, the way we get meth legal is through medical meth. And it was such like an absurd idea.
I already have that,
to me.
Adam.
And it was Mercedes who was co-hosting that day. All the way up there.
It was Mina.
And
that's real. That's
it
really
Friday.
real thing.
They pointed out, like, no, hey Adam, we have medical meth. It's called ADD medication, and they give it to kids. And it's like, yes, but we have legal meth. You can sell meth in America if you pay off enough politicians, and the government gets their cut in taxes.
as well as
That's what it's
fentanyl.
all about.
Yes.
Same thing with cocaine. You can sell cocaine in the USA as long as you're the CIA.
They
In
shoot
Nebraska, all you
fentanyl
need
in
is
your
the-
back when you're having a baby.
Yes,
that's
they do.
normal.
I had lots of fentanyl while I was in labor. And
That's
then they screwed up my pain tolerance because they didn't respect me as a patient. Oh, don't even get me started about the medical system in this country and how it does not keep you free because goddamn Catholic hospital here uses the fucking state to sue you for debt, and then you can go sit your debt out in jail. Pretty sure debtor's prison is not constitutional, but my credit's been ruined by my medical debt because Obama made it so I had to have insurance, but I couldn't afford it. But fuck me because I'm an indigenous female. I don't matter.
And that's
thank you. Hello, Ivory. Oh, this is Ivory. This is Nemesis.
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks, Obama.
So,
Fuck.
if we have a government here, you guys, that's acting unconstitutionally. It's not staying within the confines of law that it enforces upon us. Then why do we continue to let it exist? Why are we not enacting our?
I've been asking the same thing.
You know,
my palms are sweaty
the
now.
Declaration of Independence said we got the right to get rid of our government if we don't like it.
Yes.
And right now we don't like it,
Yes.
but we're too busy standing by it and obeying.
Get the fuck out of my White House. All of you.
And then-
Get out.
Well,
And this is
How do
why
you
we're on watch
overthrow
list.
him? That's going to be everybody's question, Nick. Like I'm doing that. I'm
On
gonna be
that
that guy.
note-
You're right. How do you overthrow him? What do? Do you grab the torches? Do you do
Right.
it
No.
the political
Rebel.
method? Do you do what do you do?
Rebel.
And we're trying to do it through the political method by the third party system. And I'm doing my best to do it by infiltrating the two-party system by running as a Republican. But it all boils down to money, like Adam said.
Yes.
So unless we have that money behind us collectively, then we're not going to be able to compete because they have all the money in the world to make sure that they stay in power. And it's just like the war machine. If
It's the good
they're
versus
betting
the
on
evil.
both sides, then they
Period.
win.
But then you get into
Wait,
the
I thought
hippie
you were running
method.
as a Republican because you got dropped on your head.
Okay, but then you get into the bottom
You wish
unity
that was the
hippie
case.
method of making everything local and taking power away from the state. So like here where I live in Nebraska, where we're kind of like we have full stop, we have the unicameral. The unicameral is a single body of government where we have elected representatives from our district go to Lincoln and talk amongst themselves. It's nonpartisan. It's not supposed to be no political. It's nonpartisan. There's no political party supposed to be attached to it. These motherfuckers have decided to come in and make it hyper-partisan because of the GOP and all the money, because our governor's family owns the fucking Cubs. Remember how they won the World Series and now everything's gone to shit? I'm not even talking about that because he's bald. I call him Peter. Peterhead Pete. Crickets. Because we have the penis on the prairie. Those are my favorite fucking jokes. Because we have the golden sower reaching into his crotch and throwing seeds everywhere. Because we are the Arbor State. We just
Hemp seeds, I hope.
Oh, wow.
we used to be the hemp state until government prohibition, and then we had the Dust Bowl because they came in and ripped it all out.
Isn't that
So
crazy?
this
What
one-
happens when
Hey,
you
I
mess
have
with
a-
nature?
I have a question. I
answer.
want to see if anybody on this panel knows this answer. There's one state in the United States of America. Helen, you might not know this because I probably told you. You too, Peter. There's one state in the United States of America that has jury nullification and jury instructions. Do you happen to know what state it is?
Is it Nebraska?
Only one.
It's
Only one, and it was by
Wisconsin,
a
I think.
governor's
Say
signature.
Massachusetts.
Is it Wisconsin?
That's my answer.
It's live free or die state.
Oh.
New Hampshire.
Oh, really?
New Hampshire.
No, it's live free or die for, like the voting machines.
Isn't that Berman State?
Yes, it is Vermont State. Speaking of, actually, Shade is their new Libertarian Party chair, and she was my campaign manager, so I get to it's fine.
Oh, she's
She's
the
making waves.
chair for Mass.
Yeah, Mass. Oh, no. Who's in New Hampshire?
That,
Who ran for New
Let's
Hampshire?
just
When
give
was
a
New
quick
Hampshire?
shout
I
out.
don't remember
Just
her
there,
name.
Harrison.
Guys, let's give a quick shout out right now. We'll give a quick shout out.
So,
to
Nick,
the
you're running
New
against
Hampshire
Kevin Faulkner?
LP for voting NODA.
I sure am.
Secretary.
To who
I
be-
know, Kevin.
Oh, I heard
Yeah.
about that.
Oh, good.
Congratulations to AJ Olding for joining the officer corps of the New Hampshire Libertarian Party as well.
I've been trying to make this
job
for
serving
like
alongside
30 minutes. Trying to make a point. So I'm legally not allowed to smoke marijuana. I can smoke hemp flower, CBD, no THC. And especially since I have a toddler, I'm a bad mom if I smoke pot, okay? I just take like horrible. But I can drink a fucking White Claw in front of her like nobody's goddamn business. Are you fucking kidding me? That was my mom rant I've been holding on to.
You can have that mom rant. I never had problem with the law in terms of cannabis until I became a legal patient, and the Virginia State Custody Courts decided that makes me a potential danger to my child, and I haven't seen him in over a year now. I can't see him unsupervised. Last time I visited him at school, his dad had me arrested in the parking lot. Illegal stop, lucky for me. Lucky for me knowing my rights, it was an illegal stop because they definitely tried to pull some money out of me. But yeah, I didn't have any problem until I got legal.
Wow.
So that happens.
So the state wants to raise our children so that they could Nebraska's been doing it for years.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yes. You ever seen Star Wars?
They do it all the time, and they just actually did it, and Washington's infamous for it. And CPS is horrible. Washington's got legal cannabis, recreational, lawful, and they also have medical. But there's a girl named Sophia Rosas, and she's been going through a court case for a better part of a year. And she has 2 babies, and they're both under 3, and they have different dads. And what the youngest one was in the middle of potty training in the middle of the night, an arm broke, and they went to the hospital, and the doctor said they don't believe that this was an accident, and therefore they launched an investigation, and they found out that Sophia is a medical marijuana patient. Both the baby's daddies are medical marijuana patients, so they immediately removed the child, and then all of a sudden they removed the other child. And she's fighting to get the kids back. And they literally gave both of the kids to the dads and told her she pretty much can't have the kids, but the baby's dads can. So it's something that's still really happening. And I have no idea why that we're allowing a non-governmental agency program to have this sort of control and authority, not just in our courts, but in our houses. And I think that's really the break of a lot of American families. And I think this is something that's going to be happening going forward. You had mentioned that you can drink alcohol. Yeah, true, but you can't buy a gun if you're a cannabis user, but if you're on opioids, you can. So
it's because
there's a lot of government bureaucracy.
The federal government's the #1 human trafficker in the country. They take our kids and sell them for profit. My parents are foster parents. They get paid to keep other people's kids instead of enabling the mom to be healthy so she can raise her own children. Instead of giving the mom things to help her and her kids for a better future, they're making money off of us because it's the largest slave industry in the world now.
Yeah,
they didn't ever make slavery legal. Women still aren't constitutionally recognized. It's never been ratified. We're still not part of the Constitution as women.
That's fun. Well, then I'm not paying my taxes anymore. They can really go fuck themselves.
I'm married. Legally, I have no right to have
your taxes so that you could have the right to vote. That's what you thought the deal was. Still not fucking worth it.
No, all we get to do is have babies. And if we don't have enough babies, then they're like, oh no, we're in a baby recession. I wonder why people aren't having kids.
Well, and the family court system, like, they're not just doing this to people over weed. Like, they're
as easily as they used to be. And that is
more like
all by design.
As a boomer millennial with a toddler, let me just say, it's fucking expensive, and none of my friends are procreating because they can't fucking afford it. 1, 2, they're still trying to get over their own childhood traumas because the 90s were fucking weird.
Yeah, it's when
they were weird.
Really started happening.
Bill Clinton was fucking weird. Don't ask, don't tell. Oh, silence is compliance.
No, it's the family court system's another, since we're talking about just freedom in general, we kind of ranted off into weed, but that's the biggest one they use to take your freedoms is all the prohibition laws. But the family courts, like, what's going on with me, how I'm a dangerous mother, and there's nothing they can do to prove that I've ever been violent to anybody, let alone my own child. But they do this to veteran fathers with PTSD. They're like, oh, you have you have PTSD, so that means you may lash out once. So you can't see your kid unsupervised. Yeah, we're gonna spit epilepsy too. Absolutely, I've got shit. I can't even believe I forgot that one. I have a close friend that doesn't get to see his daughter because he has seizures, and now she's like 12 or 13 years old. So
they consider you an unfit parent if you're an epileptic.
Yeah. And I understand that and I don't, but I get the excuse because, dad drops down, kid can't help. Once you hit a certain age, isn't it better to be there to help your parent? And now you can't be around them, and there's no, it's every law they have. If people say I'm a lawful citizen, I would argue that not one of us in this country at any point in time are following the laws. We're all breaking one at least.
Absolutely.
Don't know it.
Which is the fact that the people that are creating these laws are legislators, and that's why you see half this panel running for office, because they understand the only way to make change is to get into the position to be able to bring change, or just bring a big fat eraser, because I got a lot of stuff I need to erase.
That's my goal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, talking about people who write laws, I've actually kind of worked myself into that position now to be one of those lobbyists who has to be in the room when things are being discussed. And it's an amazing experience, because when you get to sit there and just say, no, we don't have the right to do that. Where in the current law can you do that? And they can't find it. You're winning the argument. So right now, my PAC has got an ACTA and no-knock warrants that's sponsored by all three parties. That's up for debate this session. We're working to end warrantless surveillance so the drones wouldn't be flying over your house getting you naked. And we've got a citizens initiative, so that way all this crap with the lockdowns would be illegal. Can't happen again. Governor doesn't have the right to do it. So you have to get out there and start taking action.
Is there a loophole here where, like, if you stand naked in your backyard, you can do illegal shit, and then they have to break a law in order to film you?
I feel like
I
they owe
don't know.
you royalties, Adela.
I'm not sure, but I'm really glad I flipped that drone off all summer now.
Can you set up beds as like for like possession of child porn? If they like take a picture of you changing your baby's diaper in the backyard,
honestly, I fucking hope so, pervs. Secondly, you brought up a really good point, though, with the running for office and being the change. And there was something else you said, Kemp, at the beginning of what you just said, but I can't remember because my brain's happy now.
I don't even remember what all I said, honestly.
That's what I mean. You just said, like, heckin' good points about being libertarian and being the change and running for office. And
oh, yeah.
And now it was a really good point.
Work yourself into the position that you want to be.
Lobbyism.
Yes.
Lobbyists.
Get into the position to lobby. Form a group. It doesn't have to be a PAC. You don't have to make it that formal, but just form like a Facebook group where you watch for the legislation coming out in everybody's states, and you can get 100 people in every state to call representatives. That will do a whole lot more than a protest. And the reason is because that actually hits those people where it matters. Mm-hmm. And if they think they're not going to get voted next time, they're going to vote the way that you want them to, the way that their constituents are calling them to vote. So that's the big thing. No matter what it is, you don't have to make it formal like I did, but do something. Do what you want done.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it.
Lobbying is usually underrated venue or vector for activism within
they try to minimize it because they don't want us to know the power that lobbyists have. So
just leaning on the system a little bit, just giving politicians the impression that people will vote against them if they don't play nice.
Well, if we ignore them, then they will think that nothing is wrong.
But that's kind of what Nick, you were saying. Like, okay, how do you fight when they have all the money? And what a lot of people don't realize is, I know I learned a lot when I ran for state rep, and I learned even more when I ran for Congress. But your average congressperson makes $174,000 a year. And my representative, who has been there since 1974, and I was born in 77, he has everything that he needs. He has all the lobbyists, and he is incentivized by money. He makes $2.4 million between each political campaign. So he is making so much money in between it that he is incentivized to continue to run for office. So how do you beat that? How do you beat those people? That's why I want to be in office. I want to stop it to where you can get no more money, no more cash, no more contributions.
Right.
And
You
make
fly
it where
drones over their house while they're in their backyard naked.
He went
I
into
definitely want to
office.
speak
But
to
that's
that.
also
Yeah.
why you have to run as a Republican, because it goes back to the two-party system. Here in Missouri, I'm more of a constitutionalist, but I will never win because I don't in a city. I'm like smack dab in the middle of Missouri. I'm not near Kansas City or St. Louis. And if I ran as any other party, there's only like a 10% voter turnout in my district anyways. It makes it virtually impossible. And the gerrymandering, I mean, you can totally see the way that they literally went around St. Louis. My entire district goes around St. Louis because St. Louis is primarily Democrat. And so it's very frustrating, and you almost have to play these games in order to advance in sort of political agenda. And I kind of get why you're doing that.
No,
Rajneesh did it in Oregon. That do you guys know that story? The Rajneesh. I'm going to say this wrong. I shouldn't even. There is I think it was Hindu or Buddhist. There's a group. They called them a cult. I won't call them that because they weren't. And they moved into this little town in Oregon, and they ended up overpopulating the regular town members, and so they took over the government, and and just by voting, unfortunately, one of them went batshit crazy and poisoned the entire water system. So if it weren't for her, like you watch this movie, you watch this movie and you're totally rooting these people on. You're like, yeah, leave them alone. This is so libertarian. And then this girl this woman gets mad at everybody picking on her in the town, and she gives everybody salmonella, and nobody dies. She runs away from America before getting arrested or standing charges. But no, it's an inspirational story in that these people did that simply by numbers. They were able to move into this small town and create the world they wanted to live in. And outside of this one lady, it was rather peaceful. This religion is still going today. Like there's still a lot of followers. They're very not aggression based, and we can do that. We forget, and we're so distracted though these days.
Well, I was inspired by the poison the water part, and I was thinking the only thing you should ever put in the water supply is LSD.
That was way better.
I don't know. Fluoride is pretty poppin' too. We put fluoride in the water here.
Fluoride in the water. I've heard they put chemicals in the water that turn the frogs gay.
I heard that too. Gay frogs everywhere.
I did want to say one thing. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, you first. I've talked way more than you.
You got it. No, really good advice. She's not on the panel now, but her name's Jessica Love, and she moved to my area, and I was involved with the LP, and we had a conversation. I was trying to get her. I had like an official position at the time, and hey, I think you're really great. You've got this great outreach. You say all the right things. I think you would be great maybe as like a county chair, and she was really open and receptive to it. But she said something that was really convicting, and I don't, that's kind of challenged me. She said that she doesn't need the government's permission to be free, and I think that sometimes you can get really depressed if you're looking at, hey, they just here in our state, they keep changing the ballot access laws. We're putting in all these hours of time, all of this work, but you can just make steps in your own life now to be free. You can just do it. You can learn to homestead. You can make better financial decisions. If you don't like the public education system, go meet other people and do like community schooling. And it forced me to kind of look at my life and be like, damn, I'm not even doing it for myself, and I'm trying to get other people to do it. You know what I mean? So it was really convicting. So I'm definitely, Harrison knows me. I mean, I support everything the LP is doing. It's a great thing. And even just running, I mean, you're reaching so many people just by getting your name on the ballot and exposing them to these new ideas. But I definitely think that it starts with yourself. And I wish I had maybe thought of that earlier on. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and to build onto that, Roger, I don't think the LP is the only answer. I don't think running through politics is the only answer. And in fact, in my life, it's not the only thing I do. I practice plenty of strategic withdrawal on a daily basis. I pay as few taxes as I can manage to get away with. I'm not just talking income tax, go the Agorist route as much as possible. Find happiness in your own life on a daily basis. And then if you're like me and you feel like, okay, I have a skill set that can take away part of the state in a different way than just strategic withdrawal, go do it. If it's something you enjoy doing, go do it. I'm not saying you have to follow one way or the other. I'm saying do all of the things at once if it makes you happy. Because I think that's the best way. Because then it doesn't matter what the state does. You're still happy.
I can attest to that because that's how I live my life. That's how my community lives. Because we fucking hate the state here. Thank you. The state hates that they can't get people into our community. The corporations we don't allow here. Like we have a few corporations now within the last 10 years, but we are very small business, localities. Fuck the state, fuck the feds, fuck taxes. But now we have lots of taxes, and I don't want to fucking talk about it. But that's not the point. The point is that mentality was put into our community in my generation, even. So I'm looking forward to this. Thank you.
A lot of people
we
here
are all living under some pretty nonsensical policies and laws surrounding so many things. And I think that those of us that can see that very clearly are obligated at that point to live the changes we want to see, period, in our own personal lives and everything that we do. And we must do that with integrity, with a straight moral compass, because there's so much convolution around us. We're fucked if we don't.
Well, you got to do it the right way.
That's just how I see it.
A lot of people in California are getting away from the two-party mindset, believe it or not. In our last election, there were a lot of propositions on the ballot that seemed to be more libertarian, and they ended up passing with flying colors. And they were against tax increases. They were against more government control. They were against more regulation. And to think in a place like liberal left-leaning California that all of these ballot, propositions did not pass. They had an amendment to actually, or they actually had a proposition to amend or actually repeal. What is it? I forgot, where everybody has to hire a certain amount of employees for a certain race or whatever. What is that called? Affordable action.
Affirmative action.
Yeah, affirmative action.
There was a bill here to repeal affirmative action, and it actually passed. So a lot of people here in California, they're looking to get away from the two-party mindset. They're just looking for the right type of person to speak up and actually give them that avenue. And they're not finding that from Gavin Newsom, of course, and they're not finding that on the right, because the Republican Party here is pretty much non-existent, and all of the people that are stepping up on the Republican Party are mimicking a lot of what Donald Trump said. And, that's not attractive here in the state enough to win over the majority, because the Democrats do outnumber Republicans here 2-1. Even more so if you add in independents and libertarians and everybody else. So in order for a Republican candidate or anybody else to be able to win, you have to be able to attract the people on the left also. So, but a lot of people,
I want to say something really quick. I agree. And like you're saying, they're refusing to pass bad laws, and that's really good. Here in Missouri, when they passed the medical marijuana, it was a constitutional amendment. So the medical marijuana program is now part of the Constitution. It's Article 14. And I say this to people who think that it's a good law. Name another constitutional right you have to pay for. I have to pay to comply with that law. That's a privilege, not a right. So it's wrong. It shouldn't have ever made it into a constitutional amendment. And that's something that's very, very important that I definitely plan on bringing up in court. Why do I have to pay? If it's in the Constitution, I should have access to it. I'm a qualifying patient. I have these conditions that I meet for their criteria. And if we allow these sort of bad laws and bad rules to be enacted and people aren't educated, you end up with that problem. So it's nice to see that people in California are finally thinking for themselves and not voting bad laws in. But here in Missouri, they were so desperate for access to cannabis that they gave up rights. I just don't know. I think I should sue the state because I don't think that I should have to pay for a constitutional right.
That's what's going to happen federally. We're so desperate for it. We're going to let whatever Trojan horse bill they put up front pass through.
More Act. Look
the
at
more.
Well,
It's disgusting.
The more act itself. Come on, if we want the
Gross.
government to be in control of our weed, then
That's
sure,
right.
let's jump on the more act bandwagon. The people don't understand that how much control our government will have over that plant if that thing passes.
Look, anything less
It's not even
than
control. They're
prohibition
making me pay
because it's a
taxes
fucking
to arrest my
nutraceutical
friends
and
from.
a neural protectant and so many other fucking things. And that's just it. We cannot settle for anything less than the end of fucking prohibition. Period.
Complete repeal. It doesn't need to exist.
We're
We
here.
got the formula. We did it with alcohol. I don't know what the hell the problem is. Like we've done this before.
Right.
Just-
So from a political standpoint, what I've observed, because I'm in the middle of the goddamn country and we have like the most anti-weed ever. Fucking manipulation. Maryland.
Fuck
my rant.
that on
So what?
God,
What?
really.
Yeah, he did, and that's fine because Nemi's been here the
Okay.
whole time, so really he's just jealous. It's
He
fine.
just went there.
I love Marilyn though; she's a good girl. Anyway, so what I know, I get called a statist a lot within the Libertarian Party because I know how to play the political game because Nebraska has closed primaries. I was a Republican before I was a Libertarian because Libertarian wasn't an actual ballot political party until Laura Epke. Thank you, former Senator Epke, for making it so Libertarians will always be on our political designated like choice. Always, Libertarians will have a spot now. That didn't happen until like 2016, and that was when I was just getting back in my saddle, starting my mental health journey, knew when I was going to be political, didn't know where yet. So I was a Republican because I was playing that game. So what I know, what I've been told, because I'm friends with important political people, I hate myself, it's fine. So this one time, because it was not decriminalized on the global level, the feds didn't want to touch it. So because the feds didn't want to touch it, the states aren't going to touch it, except for Colorado and Washington and Oregon, and the rebel states has started the tide of change. Until the WHO decided to say that it had medical value, that's when the UN was like, okay, it's going to be decriminalized now. So now globally, during the pandemic, they're like, okay, it's decriminalized. It's no longer bad. It has medicinal values. We're descheduling as it global elites. Like, okay, you guys got the green light to go. So now the feds have to decriminalize it because I know Nebraska, within our political system, because I've been bugging the mayor about a lot of different things lately, specifically chicken, sex work, and weed. Not in that order, though, because the weed comes first. Because I'm like, why don't we start the change here? It's not like we don't have drugs here, kids. Not right now. There's a dry spell. I don't
There's
know why.
definitely chickens there, too.
There's no chickens in this goddamn
I've been
city.
through Nebraska.
Fuck, not here. Actually, we have like 1 chicken per square mile on average for the statistic for how many chickens we have in the state. Don't ask me why I know that. Or like 1 square foot. I don't know. Anyway, besides the weird chicken facts, I talked to him. I said, well, can we do something? So the state decriminalized. So I know on good authority that out in the western side of the state, in the panhandle by Colorado, they're not doing shit about weed anymore. The cops have straight up gone, we're not doing anything. It's nonviolent. We're in the middle of a pandemic. They released nonviolent offenders and stopped the drug war for weed. That doesn't mean they're not targeting other areas like cocaine and the meth. We have a real big meth problem. Not that drugs are bad. It's that if you're not stable mentally, your mental health matters when you're using drugs and playing with these substances.
We need to focus on mental health care availability.
That's a Mental Health Monday. Yay. And that's where all this ties in is that weed is bad because it makes you go insane, okay? And drugs are bad, okay? And so because drugs are bad, okay, we had to just decriminalize it all. Well, now we have it decriminalized. Well, now they're focusing more on the mental health. So instead of just doing what we want, because we are American citizens and we shouldn't be having this fight anyway, they have to go slowly and take baby steps and undo all the years of trauma because of the drug war and the
Or better
prohibition.
yet,
They have to though. Portland.
they-
I was just in Portland. It's a shit show.
We
It's
have
a
to
mess.
focus on the mental health, because you got to remember they're criminalizing drugs because people are violent when they're using. Well, they're not addressing why people are violent because they're using, and because they're not addressing why people are using. So people are using because they don't feel good about themselves. Well, why don't people feel good about themselves? I don't know. Medical debt, taxes, can't see your kids, state has a war against your drugs because it's race-based, classist, racist, systematic, multi-generational toxicity that's affecting us now. But now we're starting to have the tide of change where we're having more mental health minded, more social work minded, more liberty minded, locally, globally. But you have to undo everything that they've already done. We have 75 years worth of trauma by the state because all they want to do is run the war machine because it stimulates the economy. That's why do you think building costs are so high right now? We have a lot of shit we need to fix.
Yeah, it sounds so exhausting. It's
It
true,
is
though.
exhausting,
It
and
is.
that comes down
We have
to
to.
what at the beginning I wanted to say full stop.
But
Being
there
a
has to be
libertarian,
personal accountability as well.
that's exactly it. But being a libertarian is fucking exhausting.
Yeah.
And we don't say that enough as
You know how many
libertarians
people
because
on
we're
the internet
assholes
we
and we're
have to
hard.
correct every day?
Yeah,
It's crazy, right?
it's hard.
It's exhausting.
Constantly questioning yourself and your beliefs, and if you're right, and if you're evolving, and are you stepping on somebody else, and being so aware. It's exhausting.
See,
so
I've got to
let's
jump in real quick,
take
guys.
a moment.
I got
that's
I
a
got a text
perfect
message.
segue because it's a. Oh,
Yes,
I want
Roger.
Roger.
Sorry, I got a text. I got an emergency from my son, so I got to head on upstairs. But it was a pleasure speaking with all of you. Adela, thanks for having me
I hope
on.
he's okay.
And this was fun. I appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you. Also, I think that's a perfect segue to segue Adam and say, everybody take a toke or a drink or something. All we've been doing is talking.
Hey,
We haven't even smoked together yet.
Commander, I'm a joint, a bowl, and 2 dab heads.
I've had plenty,
I mean, I'm also 2 bowls and 2 White Claws in, but I mean, we haven't done it together. Adam's sideways. Did Adam freeze? Oh, he didn't freeze. Okay.
I'm facing 11 years.
For
I'm
the whole time.
sorry.
Well, no, I want the thing that Mercedes said about that, you know, there's a lot of people who seem to disagree with libertarianism. I think they're all trolls and paid plants and sock puppet accounts. And actually, secretly, most people think mostly like us. And this is
They
Marilyn
really do,
jumped up and she told me that this is the answer to the big question that was asked earlier about why it's like this, why we accept this, or why most people seem to accept it, and not care about freedom. And she reminded me that, you know, I was a psychology undergraduate student, and I really like the social psychology kind of experiments where you put people in a room and, you know, show them different things and surveys, and you figure out like deeper things about how the mind works. And one of my favorites was, you know, they had this test where they had a bunch of people around a table. They had a guy come in with a lab coat and, you know, and a piece of paper with different lines drawn on it. And they passed it around the room, and there was only one test subject. The test subject was the last person in the circle at the end of the table where they would pass this paper around. And they would say, like, you know, lines A, B, and C, which one is the shortest? And it was really obvious. It was like, this is a really dumb test, you know? But the first 9 out of the 10 people at the table, they were Confederates. They were plants. And they all said that the second shortest line was the shortest line. They all deliberately gave the wrong answer. And when it got around to the actual test subject, they thought that these 9 other people were like either crazy or something was going wrong. Because like, how are they all saying line B is the shortest? It's obvious. I can tell. My eyes are telling me it's line C. But you know what? That was a test of that subject. And a lot of times they tricked them into going with the answer from peer pressure rather than the answer from their own eyes.
Right.
They learned that from Bugs Bunny.
Want freedom. What we're talking about is so fundamental to human nature. We all want to be free. We all want our will respected. Even those who don't want freedom want to negotiate the terms of their dependence on whatever social systems they want to be a part of. They don't want to be forced into it. They don't want that choice taken away. And we have been convinced that we're the only ones who think this way. And it's just that we're the first ones to figure out that it's a fucking test. It's a sham that makes you believe. And it's obvious when you see it, what they do with the mainstream media, with political propaganda, with the miseducation through the government school system, is that they condition you to believe that you need to stay with the herd. You need to stay with the pack. That the pack is always right. And they convince you
That's
to go
just so
along
foreign to me,
with this
though.
perceived popular opinion. And it's not even that.
That's so foreign
You know
to me
what?
too.
It's kind of interesting that, like, I know I talk a lot about cannabis prohibition, but the only I believe that's just a fragment of what's really going on. There's so many problems, but I'm a firm believer that a lot of our issues come from the need from judicial reform. The fact that 5% of the world's population, but we have 25% of the world's incarcerated. The fact that 99% of all cases nationwide take a guilty plea or a plea deal, which is a guilty verdict. The fact that we have a prison to pipeline system set up for people in high school to just kind of transition right into prison. The
Oh,
fact
you mean
that
like all my friends?
the recidivism rate is up to 75%. Did you know that Missouri is number 1 for women's incarcerated in the world? You are more likely as a woman to get arrested in the United States of America than any other country. So I believe
Really?
It's almost like we're not actually a part of the Constitution or something.
Our nipples are illegal while everybody else's are.
nipples. Oh, I am still breastfeeding right now. Let me tell you what my nipples can do.
But one of the issues is the fact that we have these presidents doing a lot of executive orders instead of asking the legislative body to do their job. So we have the president comes in and says, no more private prisons. And then we have another president that comes in and says, you can have a private prison. And now Biden comes in and says, no more private prisons. He didn't say no more private prisons. He said, do not renew the contract. An average private prison has a 50-year contract. So when you have another president come in, they renew that contract. So it never stops. Do you know that he never addressed the biggest, who owns more private prisons than anybody else in this country? What organization does? It's ICE. They own and privately own and operate all the immigration detention facilities. Did Biden say no? Let's cancel that? He did not. So we're perpetuating this 1 out of every 3 people in America has been arrested. And then how many of those people never have the right to vote and they lose? You know, there's a state that wants to make it if you're a felon, you can never make over $15 an hour, you know, and you have habitual offenders, you have 3 strikes and you're out. So we continue to incarcerate people for small pet crimes because we compare something they've already served their time with. So I actually believe that this judicial reform is huge when it comes to protecting our freedom, because we are all being subjected to some sort of violence from a gang, one of the biggest gangs in this country, and that's law enforcement, that's LEO, that are militarized. When they came into my property, they didn't have a warrant. The cop had plain clothes on with a ski mask and with a hat, a plainclothes car. I'm in my garden. It's 8 a.m. and I hear, drop that. And I turn around and he's 3 feet from my face with a gun in my face. And I because I'm fearful for my life, I submitted. My hands went up. I went down and I see my husband going, and he's being handcuffed. Like, don't shoot her, because holy shit, I knew enough to protect my own self and to submit. And that's a very scary thing, because these are gang members cursing at me, telling me to shut the fuck up, all sorts of derogatory things. I had a nightgown on and I had no undergarments, and I asked them if I could get dressed. It was pretty sheer and see-through. They said, no, you're clothed. Like I said, it was a warrantless search. They held us for 45 minutes while they got a warrant. And so there's a lot of things that are happening that if we fixed some of this stuff in a higher judicial system, not just federally, but on the state level, that I really think that this would help all of our freedoms. But we just keep passing bad laws.
I think what's way to push is those state elections. Like, the whole world thinks that like the presidential elections, this like Super Bowl event, and then they don't care. They don't care every year after that. And there's an election every year in this country somewhere.
So focusing on a solution, because your story made me really, 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 really mad, and mad enough to go protest again. And that's a lot of mad. But so this one time I was that mad and I protested. And because fuck police brutality, fuck the aggression of the state and the invasion of privacy and the, oh my Lanta, I'm so mad about you at this again. Oh God. Okay, so we protested and I'm lucky to live where I do. So I really just want all of you to come move here with me. Please just come live here. We can build space earth ships and be hippies and just, it will be beautiful. Okay, thank you. So, our city a couple of years ago saw that we had a problem with the police state, because I live in a police state, and the aggression and police brutality. And so we had a progressive city council member be elected, and we ended up getting a new police chief because of it. See, chain effect. And then they implemented training programs and just started cleaning house because we had an issue and they saw it. And so when we protested this last year, it was for support because we had our own bullshit in Lincoln and Omaha. Also because we don't want our city to go back to what it was. We've made progress in the last 2 years. We don't want to fucking lose that. And so we protested and city government reached out to us. The cops came and reached out to us. We had a white nationalist problem where we were being threatened. People were trying to drive up on the curb and hit us. We had Confederate flags. We had Nazi flags drive by. Like, I saw the worst of my community while I protested, and all I did was hold Jesus loves you signs. I actually, Adam, do you want to tell him?
Tell them what exactly?
I need to come to Arizona. That's what the comment
Oh,
said.
yeah.
I'm not.
Well,
I'll let you tell him.
Well, I live on 10 acres in the middle of the mountains in Arizona, and I'm creating a micronation here with the Garden of Freedom, or Gardenia for short. And it's kind of a synthesis of several micronation project concepts, from the Conch Republic in the Florida Keys, which was an awesome protest declaration of micronation status to protest a border patrol checkpoint that they succeeded in having removed, all the way to things like Liberland in Europe, where they have a piece of land between two countries where they don't quite have access to it yet, and are planning a fully organized but minimalist state, all the way to Sealand, where there was a group that occupied a British sea fort built outside of territorial waters during World War II and have been more or less left alone. And, so our plan here, I think we have a really great financial plan to launch a new nation, because we're going to declare independence on July 4th of this year. It's just a coincidence. The day just kind of works out timing-wise for us.
It's
But
totally
we're going to have the same birthday as America. I know it's kind of inconvenient. Which party are you going to go to? I don't know. But the plan is, on July 5th, we declare war against the United States of America as a narco-terrorist state, and then surrender on July 6th, so that we can qualify for at least, I think, a few $1 billion of foreign aid. I'm hoping they can just sort of like helicopter drop pallets of cash.
That's definitely not what I was talking about. But that's a good story.
Sorry.
No.
Why not? They do it to every other foreign country,
You said why you need to come to Arizona. I thought that's what you meant. That's why you need to come to Arizona. But really, that's why you need to come to Gardenia specifically.
Yes, there you go. No, I'm going back to Arizona with my family.
I'm actually really, it's ironic that I'm rated or whatnot, but I'm in the middle of nowhere. So I'm right in the middle of the country, right in the middle of the United States of America. I'm on 8 acres myself. And I'm 20, 30 minutes from the nearest town. I'm on a dirt road. I'm in Kingdom of Callaway Estates. So it's a private property. We have a homeowners association. There's like 5 different lakes. I've got chickens. I'm a farmer.
Homeowners association.
Yeah, I know, but they pave my roads and they plow me out in the winter. So
okay, that's almost
okay, Karen, that's still not
okay. Almost. Winters, I know you live in the high desert, but and get like 6 inches of snow on average. But down here in the middle of the country, the blizzards kind of bury us sometimes, and it's nice to be able to get out down my roads.
And they stock our lakes, and we don't have to have a fishing license, and you can hunt out here. So it's really nice. And it was weird though that I was raided, because for them to find me, I'm 90 minutes from St. Louis.
One
so
of your neighbors call you in,
you can't see a neighbor from me.
but that's what I
You can
mean.
only watch from a helicopter.
Who told
Whatever
on you?
they spotted.
They've been surveillancing with the drone.
I want to know who told on you.
Okay, and so this leads me to an interesting story. I come back from Australia, and I had, right before I left, I had tried to buy a gun, and I was denied. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm denied. So I started.
So you're already on a.
Yeah, I'm already on a wait list or some watch list. So I start fighting the FBI, and they said to me, and I'm going back and forth with all these letters, 4 or 5 months I'm fighting them. They said, no, I'm a felon. I said, I'm not a felon. And they go, no, you are. And I'm proving to them that I'm not. And I come back from Australia, and I'm pulled over at the checkpoint, and they said, have you recently applied for a gun? And I was like, I'm not answering questions. I go, if y'all don't give me my passport, I'm just going to walk right out.
So all this started when you left the country and came back, and then they're like, oh, now we got to watch you?
It's been kind of just like this ongoing thing. I mean, to be honest with you, when I was in California, I had helicopters flying over my house then too. So I just feel like no matter where I go, I feel
like the U.S. government is terrorizing you.
Yeah.
Same though.
Par for the course for all of us, isn't it?
Oh,
That's
actually,
the
I
only
ran.
reason you need to run for office.
Actually, I ran before I let Adam
So
segue.
you can terrorize them.
The protesting confirmed that being active in your local community and running for office and being the seat of change, because the 2 council members that started this change reinforced when we protested that they're going to keep the change going and implement more classes. That was the end of the story before I ended it, because ADHD. Thank you.
I did like the fact that Harrison was talking a little bit about citizens initiatives. I had a couple on the show the other day who were doing citizen initiatives. They passed 23 in Ohio for decriminalization, up to 7 ounces, no time, and no monetary fees, so they can't be fined. So they de-incentivize enforcement. They can still arrest you. You can still be found guilty, but you'll never do any jail time, and you'll never pay any fines. So I do believe that I really like the citizen initiatives. I just get really scared because you see like Proposition 215 that passed in California, where the Senate, the state bill SB 420 overrode a people's initiative, which was State versus Kelly, showed that it was unconstitutional. And so I like the fact that they did that, and they decriminalized it in 23 counties, and that was for up to 2 million people. So I really like the fact of acting small. Like you said, voting happens all the time. You vote for your district attorney, for your lawyers, your county commissioners. Yes, and so it's really important that you actually do that. But I want to learn more about the citizen initiatives, because I really do think that could really help, especially in some of these rural areas.
Sidebar. So locally, what you can do actually and do citizen initiatives is be involved in your local committees for your local city council stuff.
I don't have any.
You don't have any? What's your
have
city government, or because of the homeowners association, you're in the country? So you have to lobby the state then.
Yes. So my first representative, the only first office I could
I
run
keep
with.
forgetting because of my government type different.
Yeah, state rep or state senator or U.S. rep or U.S. senator. I don't have a micro place to start with, and that's what everybody goes, why don't you start in your town? I'm like, we have a volunteer fire department. Harrison, did you have anything to say on that? I know that you're pretty well versed on those citizen initiatives.
Yeah, initiatives are a really good way to connect with the community. Even if the courts end up striking it down for some reason, all that does at the end of the day is enhance your case to every single person you came in contact with and signed that paper. And another thing you should be doing, everyone you come in contact with that's signing that initiative, have something to hand them. Your contact with them shouldn't stop when they sign that thing. If you're collecting signatures to reduce the governor's authority, that's somebody you want to talk to about your decriminalization bills or your Second Amendment bills or free speech bills or parent rights bills, medical bills, whatever it may be. They've already shown the tendency to want to reduce the state. So these are a great thing. Even if they don't pass for whatever reason, you still come in contact with tens of thousands of voters in your state. And if you're going to be, say you want to run an educational campaign and all you care about is getting people to reevaluate their relationship with the state, and you're like, well, it doesn't matter what happens with the initiative. We're telling 20, 30, 40,000 people what we think, how we feel. And you build up a giant list of people who will help you do stuff. You know, I've met more amazing activists since I started trying to push my initiatives than I ever did before it. And it's because people go, oh, like we said before, they're drawn to the person who's doing something. You know, it's a shiny object. It's, oh, there's this thing I believe in, I can support. And then you get support from people who don't even agree with you on almost anything else. And that's when it's the most fun, because you can both talk about these issues, and then you can start saying like, hey, we should work on a decriminalization bill. And they're like, oh no, I'd never do that. And you could be like, well, why not? And just take them down the intellectual path to where you're at. Even if they don't agree with you, they're still your friend and you didn't make an enemy. You know, then you've got this whole other group of people.
Really quick, there's a Supreme Court hearing right now to allow for digital signatures because of COVID. Because a lot of states told, a lot of governors told people they violated their constitutional right. You cannot go and collect signatures door to door because of COVID. So they sued in Ohio. The state won. They appealed it, and so they decided instead of fighting the appellate court, they took it straight to the federal Supreme Court, which is a really good technological advancement. I think there should be no reason that we're not collecting digital signatures. And I really think that would make a big difference going forward.
Agreed.
It would, and it doesn't take all that much information to sign one of these initiatives. It's your name, your address, the town you live in. It's all these things that can easily be verified. So I think that would be a great way to do it. I've noticed that it's very difficult to get people, even folks who agree with us, to come out in large groups given the COVID. Luckily enough, we're coming into the nice weather now, so hopefully that's going to change.
How much Californians hate Governor Gavin Newsom.
So example for talking to people who don't believe in your viewpoints. St. Patty's Day. Okay, I'm lucky to live in Nebraska because we didn't, the state's like, we're leaving it to the school districts and mayors, like in the health districts. You guys are on your own. We're not going to decide shit for you. And it was nice because they weren't trying to, you know, make us whatever. But it sucked because I'm controlled by Trump Republicans around me. And so everybody was licking doorknobs. And so nobody wanted to listen to actual anything because they were rebelling against the state because Trump's America. And it's fine. Germs everywhere. So, but the mayor on St. Patty's Day, because we don't have a mask mandate, like if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. There are businesses that are like masks. When city council was like, we need a mask mandate, I went to the city council meeting in a mask and I'm like, masks should not be mandated. We need to educate people. Fuck you guys. This is just going to stress out everybody. City chief police is standing right there going, yeah. So, but the fact is for the shit, I forgot what I was goddamn talking about.
Gee, I wonder why.
I don't know what you're talking about, Adam.
Things.
Shit. Mayor, sex work. So this one time he was on, we have a really bad sex trafficking problem in Nebraska, high ADHD. Because I live on the I-80 interstate and I live in the middle of the I-80 interstate. And so my mayor, whom I grew up with, my mom is friends with him. I'm spoiled. It's cool. So he was at the bar and I was like, hey, why don't we decriminalize prostitution and full service escorts? He's like, well, why would we do that? I was on the sex trafficking task force and won't that help sex trafficking? I'm like, no, guess what? If you make it so that me and my girlfriends go out to the bar looking for some Johns that are in town working because we have a high tourist thing here and it's already going on. So if you decriminalize it, we're going to help you save these kids because we don't fucking like it either. Like you give us protection, the state helps us we're going to help you help us. And if you legalize it, then I went to the tax thing because I am a capitalist and my city likes taxes because we are touristy. It's not although it does backfire. That's a whole nother economic conversation because that's why taxes are evil, because it backfires on the core population. If you have a tourist heavy, it's a balancing act. So, but I told them, I'm like, if you legalize it, you could potentially be making more money. It's a zoning issue why we don't have strip clubs in town because of the boomer 1950s. We need to just be nice and pure. We can't show that on the interstate. The kids are watching. Cool. Let's educate them too, and then eliminate teen pregnancy and abortion rates while we're at it. So I'm like, hey, dude, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not going to make sex trafficking worse. And we did that on St. Patty's Day. And I really need to go talk at the city council meeting next month. The meeting's tomorrow, but I did not fill out the form. My grandpa's in the hospital with the vid. It's not good, but he's not dead. He's a Marine, so it's fine.
All right.
Drinks for grandpa. But yeah, that's like that trail of thought thinking local community. Literally just going out to the bar and knowing where your mayor drinks gives you that ear of change because you're a community member. Even if you have to drive into town, you're still there. It's still community. Like there are, like here in Nebraska, our ranchers and farmers are really close knit. Like we all know each other because we all 45 of us live 80 miles apart, but we all go to the same fucking bar. And that's where the change is with the landowners. Your landowners forget how much power we have because the federal government tries to strong arm you into poverty so then they can take it from you. Like, God damn it. The farmer is the backbone of this goddamn country. And we've been shit on because of corporatization and global trade. China. And then they changed land laws in Nebraska where foreign entities can own land here. Okay, red flag number one. Warren Buffett owning 75 and Bill Gates and all these other billionaires in Nebraska owning this. Pete Ricketts. There's just a lot of bad shit going on that being on the guy on the hill, seeing everything. Fucking Christ on a handbasket.
Like you said,
when's Easter? Next week? When's Easter?
What end
we have a libertarian bar crawl plan. When is
That's
it?
the question. To what fucking end?
Because this is for our kids.
I know.
And we are so goddamn close.
Because it's the right thing to do to stand up when you see people suffering needlessly.
That goddamn
It doesn't
war
matter if you succeed or you don't, and make no mistake about it, we're not political nerds, central planners tinkering with the system here. Well, all of us in our activism, what is the fundamental motivation? It's love for humanity.
It's freedom.
It's a love for our fellow human beings, and seeing when members of this great global human family are suffering, we want to do something about it. And we're particularly compelled because most humans on Earth are insufficiently aware or don't see enough, or there isn't a critical mass to make the change to end the suffering and end the injustice. And while it's tempting to, jump in with both hands, and I think we all need some of this in our life, in charity and helping individuals out and being hands-on in your community, we are compelled to confront the greatest injustices that we see in the world. And guess what? They're all centered around the state, war, the police state, the miseducation system, the legal system. Like, why these things? Because they are the greatest sources of injustice and human suffering in the world. And it is that love that compels us to do something about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm one of
That's
the
right.
lucky. I feel like I
Well
tell
said.
people I'm one of the lucky ones because my mom was 16 when she had me. My dad's from Mexico. I grew up super poor. I'm a child sexual assault victim. Like, I had everything stacked against me to just end up in prison with my friends that are literally in fucking prison right now because we grew up in the same neighborhood, but I got help and they didn't. So it really frustrates me because I had a system that actually worked for me. I had a system that was trying to prevent victims and helped victims and enabled victims to be survivors. And I see everything around me not being that way. And there just is so few of us with this same vision and message, and so few of us that have had this system work for us, that there's just no faith in the system anymore.
Right.
And that fundamental
Well,
lack
how
of
can you-
faith is why
Right.
we are where we are. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
How
that's
can you
exactly
have
it. Is
faith? When
that
you look at
But
one second,
I
Mercedes.
don't think we need.
no, you guys go.
How can you have faith when you gotta look at somebody like Adela that was running for office, has charges against her, she can't run for office. They take away her candidacy, this, that, and the other thing. You got people like Newsom and you got people like Cuomo that are blatantly breaking the law, but yet they get to keep their position.
Yeah.
So until you get over that hump, you're always just that sap, and it's so blatant that they can do as they want without any kind of accountability.
There is
Yep. And in my community, I've watched in the last decade.
Innocent in your case, and you're
Yep,
just
but
prove
in
yourself
this
innocent rather than that.
and in my community in the last decade, we've had a fucking backslide. I've watched it regress back to the toxic. We're at gang wars again in the 80s. We had a gang cartel problem here in the 80s because of the drug war. My family was the center of that here. My family had to fucking move. So because of that, we progressed past that, helped the victims of that. Now us victims are adults. And these motherfuckers over the last decade, while we were being adults in our 20s, fucking regressed the system back.
Well,
to make it where it was now. So now we're here back at square one, which is even more frustrating because we got it. We had it and they took it.
That's because your legislators have changed. The DEA just launched Operation Engaged.
That's what I mean. In the last 8 years. Yeah.
No, this is just since Biden came in. Operation Engage goes after the demand. So that's going after the users of whatever drug it could be in your community.
Yep.
I always use this saying from Upton Sinclair. It's difficult for him to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on him not understanding it. And that's what you're seeing is like, I can't see what you're doing or what you're saying because I have to get paid and I have these lobbyists in my ears and I have the big bankers.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to be able to see your side. And that scares me when you see something like the DEA do that, because you did see a big problem in the 80s and in the 90s.
Yep.
And I thought drug reform was really coming along on a different step. And now you see.
So what I see now are the adults of the 90s that started the drug war with the 93 crime bill back in office right now, being in charge right fucking now.
Right.
Every single person that started this is now every single person who started this in the 90s is exactly where they were when they started it right now. Because I took a break and all I did was watch government live hearings, everything. Because you gotta fucking watch C-SPAN. You gotta fucking watch what these
crazy. That's why she's like literally fucking insane. She's got too much government on the brain.
You gotta take a break from that. You do.
I do, but no, I do that. This is my break. No, it's been like 2 weeks since I've watched a live government hearing, because what I do is I pick the important ones, like the national security and the homeland. Like I'm not gonna say which ones because I really don't want to get raided. So I pay attention because Nebraska has a global trade. Like what's happening in Taiwan affects us here directly. So I gotta pay attention to that bullshit. And because of that, it got to be active and engaged. And I have my hours of operation now. I finally got a good balanced schedule. It's very militaristic, which is nice because I like patterns and schedules because Virgo, but also horrible because now I don't have a social life. Anyway,
so is Congress,
government sucks.
Is government the source or the symptom of the insanity?
Yes.
They're the source, definitely.
Yes. How about this?
That's why we got to be the ones to infiltrate the system. Because,
hey, I have that book.
Yeah, so do I.
Oh, here. I'll just put this on.
Everybody get
That's why we got to be the ones to infiltrate.
Hold on, I'll get my jersey.
Right now.
Where's my mugs around here somewhere? My boxers are dirty though. Where's my freedom book? I just took a picture of it too. Oh, God bless it. I don't know where my book went. I am.
Adam? Everybody has your book.
I stole my book from Gardenia. It had kitty prints on it. I picked it up from the floor.
And I got mine signed by Adam.
I am bringing, if I can find it, I'm bringing mine back so he can sign it while I'm there. But actually,
we left my name off the cover, so when I sign it, it actually reduces the value.
It's
like
technically
clean.
right.
I love self-depreciating humor. It's just fucking great. I can't. Where's my book?
And it's not rare at all. I've signed like 10,000 copies. So like,
Well, damn, I stole this.
It's not worth anything either.
Hey,
I
that's
am-
wonderful, man.
I have a
That's
problem.
out there.
Yeah.
Wow. I think we talked. Nickolas, I wish you the best of luck in your campaign. I know you got a lot of work ahead of you. If there's anything I can do, man, I know a lot about Kevin Faulkner. I lived in San Diego, so if you ever wanted some
Yes,
insight
let's talk.
on him, I knew him before he was even governor or pro tem of city council. So yeah, I could definitely fill you in on some of that stuff, and definitely with his
I need as
personality.
much dirt on my opponents as possible. So Newsom is giving me enough, you know. If I can knock off the rest of the people that I'm running against on the right, then hey, that'll make me stand out above the rest. So please,
And
give me
you're
all.
kind of in limbo. You're kind of in limbo because you don't know if you're going to have a special election or if it's just going to be for the next election year, right?
It's going to be a special election. He will be recalled. We got over 2 million signatures to get him out of office.
Yes, and if I may plug his campaign here also, Nick Wildstar is taking advantage of a very cool opportunity. And I lived in California. I lived through the recall of Governor Gray Davis that gave us the Gubernator. And it is a really unique political phenomena in American politics, the California gubernatorial recall process. And it's a big shakeup and it's a big opportunity. And Nick is in a good position to make some waves, even though he's a Republican.
Hey, that gives you in a better position.
Oh, be perfect.
I'm telling you, more than likely, Newsom is going to be recalled. It's a matter of who replaces him, because the ballot looks as this. The people of California will be asked, 1, would you like to recall Gavin Newsom? And 2, if he does get recalled, who would you like to replace him? So even if people vote, no, I don't want to have him recalled, they still have to choose a candidate to replace him, you know? So if you have the Democrat sleep out, sleep on this election and say, well, Newsom is going to win it, I'm not going to get involved in voting at all, because that does happen, then you could have a possible flip where, you could have a Republican win. And it's a matter of who that Republican be. Like Adela was pointing out, Kevin Faulkner is a very well-known establishment Republican because he was the former mayor of San Diego now. And now he's one of the, I guess, expected to be leading candidates for the gubernatorial race, even though he just declared his candidacy. So between him and John Cox and all of the money, the millions of dollars that are going to be poured into this campaign from special interest groups and unions and big pharma and whoever else, all of the large corporations, big donors, they're going to make sure that they have one of their establishment candidates win. And Newsom has already proven he's exactly that. It's just a matter of who's going to be able to oppose that. And I'm the best person to do that.
I'm not a journalist, but I play one in real life. So I'd like to ask Nick a hard question here. And I don't think it might not be appropriate for him to take a position as a gubernatorial candidate on California independence one way or another. But if elected governor, can you say that you would support the California independence movement, bringing its proposition to a vote to the people of California, at least letting the people of California decide whether or not they want to break away from the rest of this crazy union thing we've got going on under the federal government today?
Oh, yes, most certainly. And there is a growing concern and demand for California independence here. And it's mainly having to do with our economy. We're a donor state. We pay more in federal taxes than we receive. And if we have a suffering, populace here, people that need help, people that have lost their jobs, small businesses that aren't receiving any government aid, even though you have large corporations like Gavin Newsom's winery, who is getting taxpayer loans, then it'd be best to, again, make sure that that money, our tax dollars, are being kept here first and foremost. So as governor, that's what I'll be doing, is making sure I make those policy changes to make sure the people of California are happier. But the government, the federal government itself, is already posing a threat to the people of California through policies like, initiating foreign wars in the name of the American people. And we definitely don't want to be supportive of that. If it's going to put the people of California in any more of a threat than we're already in. So if my goal and position would be to safeguard the people of California, so that's what I'd be doing. And if secession ends up coming on the table, then I will be in support of that.
Well, Nick, you can take this as a suggestion or a stupid joke, but I hope you get to repurpose the famous Democrat operative James Carville saying from 1992 as a supporter of Bill Clinton. He famously said, "It's the economy, stupid." And I think that would be a great way to unite Californians, and say that, you're really, for all of the, identity politics and flair and principle of being a libertarian, as the governor candidate for California, you're a meat and potatoes kind of guy, and your primary challenge and quality of life, in contrast to what Governor Newsom has given the state, has to be, we're going to put more food on your table, or we're going to give you the freedom. We're going to get all this bullshit, all these restrictions out of your way, all the California state government red tape, and we're going to let you be productive again. And right now, like, that's what motivates most people, and that's how we show that our policies work. And right now, you have a great opportunity to contrast to how Newsom's and the Pelosi. Can we call them the Pelosi Mafia at this point? Is that
we can at this point. Yeah.
The Pelosi criminal political mafia with their policies have gotten California.
Exactly. Yeah, I plan on exploding that to the T, just as you said. And if I can just be straight to the point, I think the people of California would appreciate that, at least the ones that I've spoken to so far. So I'm just, if anything, using the Republican platform as an opportunity to speak to a larger audience.
For the record, I'm a member of the Cal-Exit Congress, the California Board of Directors, and it's an awesome organization. Everybody in California should get involved with, and I hope maybe we can make an endorsement. We got to make got to bring the rest of the board in on this. But I hope that we can make that connection.
It may be a conflict of interest since I'm a board member also, so we'll see what happens. But at some point, they are definitely going to have to get on board with throwing their weight behind supporting one candidate, no matter who they may be. And even if I don't make it around to the final round, Cal-Exit needs to be properly represented by whoever replaces Gavin Newsom, because right now they're not being taken seriously, and they are definitely formative. So if they can get in position as some of the other organizations in the state to where they're able to challenge the system politically, whether it be via super PAC or, the California Congress, California Congress growing, then it's going to, again, create a movement here to where it's going to challenge the political establishment.
I think it's great that you're running for office. I think it's absolutely wonderful, and I encourage everybody to run for office. I'm originally from I'm from Hawaii, but I grew up in San Diego as well. So I'm definitely going to be putting your name out there to all of my fellow people, because they don't know. I didn't know that they had to pick that person that they wanted right then when they vote to recall him. So that's pretty interesting news, and I don't think a lot of people are aware of that. Is there going to be a list, or is that just kind of like a write-in candidacy?
Oh no, there'll be a list of candidates. That's why right now,
this is part of the fun of the process. It's wide open.
Oh yeah.
There's like porn stars and all sorts of crazy celebrities running when it was Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I think the last recall election that we had over 100 candidates on the ballot. I mean, it's just a list of names. So right now there are only maybe a dozen or so declared candidates. So I'm one of those candidates. That's why I'm doing my best to make sure that I continue to take advantage of the momentum I've gained through the petitioning process, being one of the lead signature gatherers for that process, as well as, again, capitalizing on my success from my 2018 gubernatorial campaign and my 2020 campaign for mayor of Fresno. So I've been very involved in the community and doing my best to, again, just take advantage of the situation to get more attention, bring more awareness to the situation, the opportunity for us to see what a libertarian could do for the next few years before the next gubernatorial election in 2022. So this is a special election to replace the governor, and that new governor, again, will sit in office until the next gubernatorial election next year. So it's still open for grabs, and I would love to have the opportunity to, again, just show people what less government would do, because like Mercedes pointed out, during this pandemic, the government has done so much to kind of just ease the rules, so to speak, that it's made people's lives happier. I mean, even when people started to be able to order alcohol, you know, and have it delivered to them, they were they were just happy about it, you know.
I could take a drink from the bar with me when I got my burritos. Are you kidding me? A gallon of margarita for $5.99.
All because the government said it's okay. Are you kidding me? We shouldn't be living like that as adults.
So that's when you say, hey, government, thanks for easing the restrictions. Now fucking leave it like this.
Exactly. Leave it that way.
So,
so far,
Nickolas, I'd like to ask you a question. Well, I'd like to also propose something to you. There is an activist friend of mine I'm very close with that is in California, does a lot of activism, especially on the repeal of Gavin Newsom, that I'd like to connect with you.
Okay.
I think that she would be valuable to you in your campaigning process, and I think she'd really love to hear your platform. Her name is Deb Coleman.
Or Deborah.
All right.
Deborah Coleman.
Please,
and she's a lifetime California resident. She's very, very, very deep into politics and in the repeal of Gavin Newsom. So I really think that, she'd like to
for
hear.
anyone that's interested, I asked them to visit my website, wildstar2022.com, just like my name, wildstar2022.com. As soon as you visit my website, there's a pledge card that pops up and asks you how would you like to get involved. So if you'd like to join Team Wildstar as a staffer, please fill out that card. And of course, there's a donation button on my website if you'd like to make a contribution. Help me make sure I'm one of those names listed on the ballot, because it is going to cost a pretty penny, and I am a grassroots activist. So all of my funding comes from people like you. And I know it's hard right now, hard times, but every little bit helps, because we're going to have to be able to compete against the, big money machine in the special elections. But I saw somebody here said a question asked about deregulation and descheduling. I actually plan on decriminalizing completely, and if possible, repeal some of these bad laws like Prop 64, which actually makes it even worse here in California. But if you decriminalize it all together, then now it'll do what Mercy said, prevent police officers from having to target anyone that's in possession of substances or selling whatever. Focus on the real criminals, and that's what we really want of our law enforcement right now.
As governor, couldn't you order an immediate stop to all cannabis-related enforcement actions or policies, at least for state and local, not federal, obviously, but state and local cops, effectively?
Yep, and I think that's where the problem with me and the federal government probably is going to, come into play. Don't give away all of my plans.
And
you have a problem with the Riverside County sheriffs there.
He's really good at doing that.
They're
And it's
horrible.
really annoying.
Make sure that
We
you
got to
also
play it
do it.
safe until we get in there.
To put jury nullification into jury instructions, that would be pretty amazing.
I certainly would, definitely. I'm pledging to do exactly that. Make California jury nullification state.
Look into what's going on down in Riverside.
Oh, they are out of control.
I have been populating a list that goes back to 2016 when Bianco took over the whole department. And this guy's threatened me online before on Facebook. It's insane. And now they're going after him. Like, you say you can repeal the cannabis or or prohibit the use or arrest of cannabis related things. They're getting them for water offenses and ridiculous things like this. And they're going in with search warrants and destroying all their plants, just gone. And then they get some ridiculous fine about, water. When
that's the difference between a corporation. That's the difference between a big grow and an actual person. A big commercial grow, they're going to be in out of violation of zoning. They're not going to be subject to raid or arrest. All those ones you're seeing in Riverside, no arrest. They're just smash and grab. They're taking all their product. But if you're a patient, you're going to be dragged through the judicial system. Or if you're just a small individual, you're going to have a punitive approach to your incarceration and your arrest. You're not going to be subjected to just a fine. And those are issues that are a problem. When you drive in and out of the state of California, in between all those municipalities, you're coming in and out of compliance. That's just gotten huger on a nationwide scale. You can fall in and out of compliance depending on where you're at. And that is not the intention of what the United States of America is. My wedding should be valid. My prescription should be valid no matter what state I go through.
Exactly. Hey, I'm sorry. I got to go. I only had 2 hours. I got someone waiting on me, but this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'll just sign off with a quick plug. Go to thefreedomline.com. I'm live 2 hours a day, 5 days a week at AdamVersusTheBand.com. I love you all. All of these people here have been on my show. That's why it's awesome. And we have fun conversations like this without as many people at the same time. But 5 days a week, it's a lot of fun. Thank you very much, Adela, for the opportunity, and for Peter for making this happen. Peace and love, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Later, Adam.
Well, I want to give you all the opportunity to kind of do your closing lines and say everything you want. I really appreciate y'all being on the show, but I want to give you a chance to just kind of wrap it up, and I'll put your information up on where people can reach you, and then we'll just say goodbye.
Okay, I gotta go. So Cora, my co-host, is now done. It's time to go eat. So thank you everybody for listening to me ramble for 2 hours. I appreciate it. You can find me at Nebraska's Mouthiest Libertarian, Mercy. You can go to the Tri-Cities LPNE. I'm the secretary of our affiliate. You can also go to the lp.org, which is our national page, to find out more about the party. And remember, anarchy starts with you. Yeah, because let's be honest, I'm an anarchist. Okay, so I love you all. Yes, baby, I understand. I love you too. So thank you for having me. I love you all. I'll see you later.
Thank you. Whoever's next. Harrison, you haven't talked much.
Yeah. So you can find everything I do at harrisonkemp.com. I've got a couple of books I published. I've got one book where I tell the story of Irwin Schiff through the lens of the Alien and Sedition Acts of 1798. It's a really awesome, weird, historically accurate / fictional story all at once. You can find that on Amazon along with my other book. It's the causes and solutions surrounding homelessness. So basically, I just take a free market approach to how can we eliminate homelessness, what can we do, minimum wage waivers, property tax laws, these types of things. On there, you can also find my PAC, Free Maine PAC. Like I said, we've got 3 really big things going on right now. We're ending no-knock warrants, ending warrantless surveillance, and we've got this citizens initiative going on. So if you want to help support that, you can do all of that at harrisonkemp.com. And if you're in Maine, please reach out to me because we need more foot soldiers. We need more people getting involved. And wherever you are, if you've got some activist group that is doing the things you want to do, Stop complaining that no one's doing what you want to do and join them. It's the only way you're ever gonna like get to that point where you're like, all right, we're getting better at this.
Heck yeah.
So that's that. Thank you so much for having me on. It was great to talk to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Whoever's next.
Nice.
I'd like to add to that because he's absolutely right. It is up to us, we the people of the community, to actually take charge of what's going on. If we keep complaining about it, it's not going to get any better. And how much longer can we allow things to, continue the way that they are and threaten our livelihoods, especially right now during the pandemic? It's brought to attention that right now time is of the essence. So we need to be acting now more than ever. So thank you to everyone that's on this show that's run for office, that have gotten involved in, writing petitions and, getting those initiatives filed, because every way that you can attack the situation is a way to just change the policies that continue to oppress us all. And of course, if we want to free ourselves, that's going to also free our children and the next generation. And that's where we're fighting, why we're doing this, not just for ourselves, but the next generation to come as well. So please continue to stay involved. As I said, I'm running for governor of California. So it takes everyone in the world to make that happen. If you're outside of America, spread the message about my candidacy. If you're in America, you can contribute to my campaign.
There you go.
As well, but visit my website, wildstar2022.com, and let's bring back liberty to California.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it. Joey, you?
Yeah, I am Joey Lee, the Commander-in-Chief. GI Mary Jane, I run platoon420.com. You can find pretty much everything that I've got my little hands on somehow linked in there, whether it's through an article or whatnot. I report the drug war news from the perspective of the victims. I don't call it an arrest. I call it a raid. I call it a violent property invasion. These people aren't hurting anybody. And if anything, they're creating victims of the people that they're accusing of being criminals. So that's what I do. I do it for the kids too. I've got to pass this torch to my little one, who's only 11 and is already a victim of prohibition because his mother can't see him because of prohibition laws. I don't need him going through that. Tis I, that's me. Oh, and the one thing I do want to plug is 51st annual Smokin' at the White House. It's Independence Day, high noon. We just got confirmation that no matter where the fences and National Guard are, they will be pulling those down for our event. So we have Lafayette Park, and we also have Franklin Park, which is in front of the Lincoln Memorial. So for the first time, we've got two different parks. We've got word from RFK Stadium about a possibility of the gathering of the buses that Stacey Pease is heading up, being able to park there. And since COVID got in the way of the 50th anniversary, we hope that this one will be just as big as the event in 1970. We have the capacity to pack tens of thousands on the White House lawn, and with permission can spark up our joints for freedom without the fear of arrest for just a few hours that day. It's going to feel nice.
I love it. I love it. I'm looking. I wish I could travel. Unfortunately, I got cases coming up and courts and coming up, so I can't really designate any time to anything at this moment because I just have no idea like when my trial's about to start or anything. So I just think that's great. I wish I could go to the Capitol and do that with y'all. Peter, Helen, I got you on mute. I think something happened with your microphone, but I'm bringing you back on. Are y'all there? Oh, they're gone. Either way, I appreciate y'all coming on and joining the show. I really had an amazing time, and I really feel like I've learned a lot. I'm going to be contacting a couple of you on my own, and I definitely, like I said, Nick, I'm definitely going to be reaching out to all my folks in California. Peter just came back on. I just wanted to give you a chance to say goodbye. Do you have anything you want to say, Peter?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody. First, yes, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Cool. Adela, thank you. Thank you so much for letting, letting all these brilliant people speak, and it just shows that what we've got this isn't just, in your own home or in your own area. There are people across this country that think the same exact way now. Things are archaic. We truly need to, not reinvent the wheel, but fix the flat tire. And we've got great people. That's why I was so happy Nick could join us. He's, he impressed me at the California convention in 2020. And, I've been following ever since, man. And he always obliges me every time I ask him to speak. And I think people need to hear him, So thank you for allowing him to be on here as well. But please follow me and my wife at Can We Talk 420, and that's a small O. It's not 420. That would be redundant, So it's Can We Talk 42small-o.com. Everything about us, our entire life is on there. Everything from Mother Nature's Den Now, which is our product line, and our homestead here. And our off-grid living situation. Soon we'll have 50 acres here for anybody that wants to enjoy some liberty to come on out and enjoy. It's a beautiful piece of land. And again, we welcome everybody. But thanks for having us, Adela. And peace to all my friends. And thank you all so much for gracing us tonight.
All right. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. I thought this was just an amazing show, and I'm really looking forward to taking more action and having more guests on that are just allowing us to open up our minds and be creative and think outside of the box. And so I just had a wonderful day. Thank you all. If you have any more information that you want to get to me or you would like to be on the show, check out my website, adelawisdom.com. Message me and I'll screen you in. It'll be your topic. You'll have a wonderful day. Thank you.